All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks once again for joining us in this coaching workshop level 1 that's going through until the 27th of February. And yeah, hopefully everybody's now on the WhatsApp group. I have shared the presentation from Monday, as well as just put on the link for the visual of the workshop. And again, I will do so after each workshop, so that anybody misses a session for whatever reason, at least you can go, watch and pick up the information. Just again, I'm going to just remind everybody of some housekeeping. Please, can you guys keep your microphone switched off whilst the presenter is talking? So as I look here, Ephraim, if you wouldn't mind switching your microphone off. And also, it's not necessary to have your video on. It just eats your data, as well as sometimes creates interference. So let's keep the videos off. Save the questions to the end of the presentation, unless the presenter asks for some engagement. So that's the housekeeping done and dusted. I think also what I need to do, there seems to be a bit of confusion with regards to the term that we've introduced into the coaching workshops, where we said coaches need to recycle their qualifications. Like referees, referees every 2 years internationally have to recycle and make sure that they stay up to date with the new rules that come through, any sort of amendments, etc., etc. The same needs to apply for the coaches. Basically, you need to just keep up to date with various, whether it's the rule changes or whatever the case is. Sorry, let me just mute that. Yeah, so you do not, so if you're a level 2 coach, for example, it does not mean now that you have to redo your level 2 course from scratch. All it means is that we just need you to make sure that you're keeping up to date and you're obviously staying active. You can be a level 2 coach, disappear for 10 years and come back and say, I'm a level 2 coach. Yes, you are still a level 2 coach. However, you would then need to recycle to make sure that you get up to date with any new information, etc., etc. So I don't know if that clears up. There seems to be a little bit of confusion about it. There was a bit of an outcry over the last few days by certain coaches thinking that their levels had been removed from them. It's not the case. All it is we're saying every 2 years we will recycle. I'm just going to stop sharing this presentation, and I want to just show you what we will be doing. I need to find it. We are keeping a master coaching database. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, Jerry.
Okay, so basically, everybody, we've gone back in the archives of various coaching courses that have happened over the years. The database that I've got here, there may be people's names missing that have done courses, so it's not a final product. But just to give you an idea, we're keeping a database of your names, okay, what level coach you are, when it was awarded, and then we're going to say when was the last time you recycled, when will you next be expected to recycle, and so on, who the instructor was, your current status, are you active, non-active? There's various options here. Yeah, so we'll keep a record, your province, your nationality, and then we obviously keep a record of your marks, theory, practical mark, etc., etc., and then your personal information. So if you look down here, there's a list of entry-level coaches. Again, a lot of these coaches are probably haven't been around for 15, 20 years, but we have you on record. If you're a FIBA coach, an international coach, and then obviously your level 1 coaches, level 2, and level 3 coaches. Level 3 is awarded to coaches that are that have coached a senior national team at either a Paralympic qualifiers, World Championship qualifiers, and higher. So those are the coaches that will be awarded a level 3. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly give a summary of that, and hopefully it clears up any misconception that might have been out there. You know, and again, guys, if you hear people talking about stuff that is a bit controversial, rather come directly to the source and find out what the actual facts are. So I'll leave that there. And I shall now hand over to Mr. Gumbi. Just let me find your presentation. Alrighty, so I'm handing over to Mr. Gumbi, and yes, let's enjoy the presentation. All yours, Sipa.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Evening.
Okay, Sipa, whilst I appreciate you saying good evening to everybody, can we just take it that everybody is saying good evening subconsciously?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's good, man, that they're responding. Why not? We're recording this. Okay. It's voice checks. Voice checks is always good. I'm just joking, man. Listen, Jerry, I'm just gonna twitch it a little bit today. You know, like I said on Monday, I'll appreciate it if or when I'm going through a slide, maybe one to take two questions, because I really like the engagement rather than to have everybody all quiet right through, you know, to the last slide, and only then, you know, guys will have questions. Sometimes some of the guys will actually, you know, probably have a question while the slide is going through, and then but by the time we finish off, you know, probably the question or whatever that was intended to be asked is all forgotten, you know. So maybe I'll if you can allow me, I would like to take two questions, you know, per slide, and then the rest will come through at, you know, at the closure of the presentation.
Cool, no problem. I'm going to ask that people use the raise their hand and not just start talking over you. So put up your hand. I will then call on you to ask the question.
Yeah, we are in class. Put up your hands. Thanks, guys. Once again, highly appreciate your attendance, and thanks for your clarification there, Mr. Smith. I think it was valid and very important that we go through that. Yeah, if we do recall what we touched on Monday, just to refresh, and probably some of the guys were not around, we spoke about core values. You know, we also spoke about the coach's attributes. We spoke about duties of the coach, and then we touched briefly about the responsibilities of the assistant coach. And then we went in depth a little bit on the practice plans, which is very, very crucial, and sometimes it's overlooked by most of the coaches, and the value around, you know, the game plans, you know, in terms of your preparations. We spoke about practice plans, and we also spoke about fundamentals. So if there is going to be any questions around what we presented on Monday, just reserve that for the last, you know, after the last slide, after the close of my presentation. Okay. Yeah, today I'm just going to touch a little bit, go deeper to the roles and responsibilities of the assistant coach. So once again, the assistant coach must have like an open mindset, a growth mindset, basically. Must be prepared to learn and to learn new things, and obviously by how you're going to achieve that, by reading and attending clinics. And basically this is what it boils down to, what we're doing today, and or maybe throughout these sessions. and the sessions that were done last year. Okay. And the assistant coach, basically as a head coach, must have standards as well. You know, you cannot be a coach and be late for practice. And you cannot be a coach if you do not prepare your practice sessions, nor your game plan, or not do your game plans. But be prepared at all times and be ready and dress up accordingly. And we all know what is the principles around wheelchair basketball. And I do see sometimes even at our trainings here in KZN, that sometimes the athletes will come at training wearing jeans, and some are wearing jewelry. So sometimes that actually impacts on that discipline you as a coach needs to put through, and also the captain needs to actually alert the players about those things. Okay. Be the one, be that person that is quite tough. You gotta be strong in your principles, and the values we spoke about earlier, um uh uh and at all times, you gotta be a hard worker, and obviously a go-to person. What I'm saying to a go-to guy, it's important that it becomes easier for your players and for other coaches, to come through to you if you are a committed person, a well-organized person, and a hardworking person, because you know your responsibilities and your ethics, and obviously your core and your values around your program. So it's important to be that one person that is above the lot, and by so having so much of preparations and readiness into your practice sessions and your game plans and all that, it becomes easier for your athletes, and they also, not your athletes or players, and they also become part of the whole plan. If you're coming into a structure or a setup that is already got a certain system that is going, be part of that system. Just do not come in and do your own things, without understanding the system that the particular structure is heading to. So if there is no system, like we said earlier on, we said on Monday, do have your own system, create your own system. If you have a certain system, your coaching style, your values, I'll start implementing those. Prepare yourself for those, so that at least it gives you a direction, it gives you an insight as to which direction you want to take, or where do you want to see your team, or where do you want to see the structure going to. So have that and be loyal to it. Be loyal to the system, and be loyal to your program, or even the values of that are being put through by your head coach. Align yourself to those. Align yourself to the vision, the system, the philosophy of the team. And we spoke about a lot about the philosophy on Monday, and the program as a whole. So it's important that you don't come in where there is a certain structure, and you want to change the whole structure. I always see ourselves, if we are to go back to what we were actually doing in the previous years, in terms of in the gameplay, game plans and the like. And I remember each player used to have his own book, to read and understand the game plans. And I do not know whether that was still be done, for to the group that actually came after us. So there was a system that really helped, seeing us being ranked like top 10 or top 12 in the world, certain number one in Africa for a while. So that system, I felt like it was working, it was important, and every single player actually bought into it. So we kept a loyalty. We aligned ourselves to that, and then we pretty much achieved quite a lot. So it's important as a assistant coach as well, or the coach, to be loyal to the program. Do not get quoted. I think this one is actually go back to what Mr. Smith has just pointed out now. If there will be people will pretty much come around to you as an assistant coach and ask you about the decision being made by the head coach, and if you become or give negative answers, that tells you or give indication that you're not really and truly loyal to the program. If you are pretty much selling out your coach decision, your head coach decision at that particular time. Even sometimes the players, the and captain of the team. It's important that you try and avoid certain questions whereby people will use to their benefits. So be aware of those, and it's very crucial that you understand those. Build a relationship with the players, um, understand your players, and sometimes you gotta understand their background, and where they're coming from, and it becomes you become more or less like a father to them or a friend to them, not so much so like my last point, not being a buddy, but you understand the background, and understand the hardships and the challenges that they're facing, and in order to build a relationship whereby they will feel, hey, you know what, we gotta work, this person is showing so much committed and so much commitment to and trust to us, therefore we need to work harder for him. So you as a coach, or no, or as an assistant coach, you gotta have that relationship with the players, and not just, in terms of play, but outside of play, outside of the game, and very important that you also, visit their homes, and understand the parents, now to understand who you are, and who is this person that is responsible for our kids, and where they're actually not in our surroundings, so it's important. So my second last point is like be a great teacher. Once again goes back to the second point on top. Whereby you need to put in time, you need to put in videos, you need to do research, find ways that will work best, for your setup, in order for your players to understand, the mission or the goals, or your drills that you want to try and apply. So it's important that you put up videos or sometimes pictures as well. Any questions around that particular slide? If you don't see any hands, Mr. Smith, let me know. We can move to the next slide. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, guys. Okay. Then the team captain. This particular position is quite a crucial one. Sometimes, coaches will prefer players to choose their own captain, and sometimes the head coach decide as to who he wants as the captain of the team. So for me, there is no appropriate selection unless the captain fulfill all of those responsibilities that I try to put down on the presentation there. Okay, the making of a great captain. The great captains are leaders. Okay, they show a lot of commitment, and also they are very passionate about winning. We're talking about players that push very hard on court, and people do not give up on defense. People that do not give up on a ball that is heading to the sideline or baseline or it's going off court. People that actually commit into the challenges on a basketball court, even at the practice sessions. and that commitment indicates that the player wants to be a winner. So that's one element that you need to look into first, to the as being the leader, okay. And the captain can also be a positive thinker. Do not be negative on court, do not say negative things that will actually bring in the team down. Even sometimes you're gonna get players or people that will come and pull out and pull down a team, or pull down the games plans or coaches calls and all that. You as a captain, you need to find a positive side, just to make sure that you keep the morale and the spirit of the team high. They are great communicators. Communicating, between coaches and the players, and also they got some responsibility to speak to the media. If you have to, we look at the marketing element. So they're well spoken and vocal, and they're never shy about defending and protecting the values and the vision of the team or the structure. They're very confident, they're very mature. They do not pull out, or they do not say any things that are improper. They first critically analyze, the situation before they actually open up their mouth or maybe speaking out loud. So the confidence will also flow into the younger players. They're very supportive to other players as well. The confidence is there because they're winners. And they also respect the vision of the team, and they take care of all the little problems that are happening within the players or within the team itself. So they pretty much working hand in hand, um, with the coach and the assistant coach, and obviously, having to respect the vision. Okay, I got distracted there. I'm so sorry. Okay. um they inspire others. That's pretty much said it all. The captain is there on time. The captain is the leader, and sometimes when the coach is busy preparing, setting up game plans and all that, the captain is probably leading the warm-up session. The captain is also pretty much cleaning up, or captain is also assisting a player that doesn't know understand the drill. They always inspire others. They're looking after other players that do not actually have the capabilities of understanding better or clearly the responsibility that they need to actually lay down on court as per the coach's instructions. They recognize teammates strengths and weaknesses. Very crucial. We understand our abilities on nature basketball based on our classifications. So and a team will always have those elements whereby there are certain strengths and weaknesses, that the captain can easily identify, and also help those players that actually got weaknesses, and make sure that their strengths become better, and assist those that are actually show some signs of weakness. Help your teammates to succeed, passing the ball to an open player, to take the layup, uh, sharing the ball, defending, covering for the other player. Those are elements that you see from the leader on court, and obviously know your teammates personally. Once again, it goes back to what I said about the assistant coach, whereby you as a captain, you need to also be attached, be understanding, know your teammates, go out with your teammates, have drinks, with your teammates, and have lunch with your teammates, visit them, visit their homes, and understand who they are. And it's always going to be beneficial to the team. Thank you so much. Any questions on that slide, please? Um, as we move on, you will realize that we're building to the serious part of our uh, coaching course. We're now going to be touching a little bit more into, you know, things that actually play a huge impact in our games, including our wheelchairs, you know. And there is a lot, there's a lot of players out there that really struggle to even understand, um, you know, or to sort out, that's the spokes, if they lose, and to also understand if the cushion is sagging, or even understanding the height of the cushion the player needs to be sit at based on the point system. So this is basically the basic wheelchair maintenance that each and every player, coach, the assistant coach should understand. Um, you cannot go on court or be on tour if you do not have the tools, to repair the chairs. Um, well, I put down there two the tire levers, for pneumatic tires. Pneumatic tires we refer to, those ones that take air, like our basketball chairs, and then other wheels become solid, the ones that do not pick up punches, that do not have tubes. So pneumatic refers to those that are um, actually take air. Okay, you gotta have your pump, you gotta have your axles, a socket, ratchet, and your emergency tools as well, like your spare tubes, your small, ratchet, like we call it, a shifting spanner, so it's another term there, your hand pump and your puncher kit. Those are basics that you need to basics, or these are the tools that you need to have at all times. Then you can always start with working through your chairs regularly, maybe or weekly, and check, if there's anything loose, so there will be a slide coming through. So checking your spokes, it's important, because if your spokes are loose, your big wheels, they become, it becomes buckled, and it loses its solidness, and also is the pushing starts to crack, because it all starts with the impact that is receiving when we're in a game situation. So if you gotta sit down every single week as a player or the assistant coach, to look at the chairs, because without the wheelchair that is in a good condition, there's definitely going to be challenges in terms of your play. Next slide, please. Okay. Um, very important. Once again, in talk, looking at the maintenance of the chair, I doubt it. I highly doubt it that there are players that will now and again, I was guilty of that as well as a player. I would only check on my chair whenever I feel there's something wrong, but it's important that in a weekly basis, you gotta check your chair, wipe down your wheelchair, clean it up, pick up stuff, take your pressure, you know, the 26-inch tires, 24-inch tires, they take different paths. So always check your pressure there. Okay. Check your wheel locks, whereby there's a way you push in your axle, if it's working properly and it's tight, you gotta check that. Check loose spokes, like I said it earlier on, because impact tend to actually affect the spokes, and once the spokes are affected, the whole rim of the wheel is actually gets buckled, or it gets bent, and you're gonna have a challenge. And the spinach wheels alone in South Africa right now, the cost of spinach wheels alone in South Africa right now is nothing less than 18,000 rand, just a set of 2 wheels alone. That's how important it is, that you really look after your equipment. Check your cushions, um, this is crucial for me, very, very crucial, because um, I've seen it a lot in our super sport games or tournaments here in South Africa, whereby we tend to share cushions. And in terms of our hygiene, um, it's just not right. And the weight, my weight to and opposed to person B's weight might differ. Therefore, the shape of the cushion will actually be impacted. So it's important that you keep your cushion at all times. Cushion is yours. Do not share your cushions. It's important, and it also helps. When it comes to issues of hygiene. Clean your cushion and your cushion covers. You can do that probably every week or every second week. Well, sometimes people will tend to take their chairs, put it out in the sun, put the cushion outside the sun. They hold their chairs sometimes, which is not ideal, and that actually affects the bearings and the hubs of the chair. So rather not hose your wheelchair, you must get appropriate cleaning materials to clean your chair. If you do not have those, or you do not know what to use, I don't mind it. I can always share those with you. Check for loose nuts and bolts. Very simple. Check for wheel alignment. Wheel alignment, once again, it's merely referring to your camber, the basketball camber, and the camber tend to differ. They go from 18, 20 to 22 and 24s. Those are very, very important, that when you're doing your chair, what camber it will have. And then if it's not aligned after a game, you find that your chair is not moving smoothly, and sometimes the chair will only be pulling on one side. That will only tell you that the alignment of the chair, like pretty much like a car, it's not straight. You therefore have to get it sorted out. Clean and check axles or on the large wheel. Basically, we talk about the back wheel. Your axles, they tend to get rusted inside, and sometimes they tend to get bent. If it's bent, therefore you're gonna have to use a different axle. So after a game, always check on those. Thank you so much. Question? Okay. We're moving on to health and hygiene. We have a number of athletes, especially younger ones, that we have lost due to pressure sores and due to illness and due to hygiene issues. We cannot ignore this particular topic when it comes to wheelchair basketball, and we fully understand the impact of hygiene and health, within our sport. And I'm just merely touching, I'm taking from the top. I'm not going in depth about this, but our physiotherapist Notemba did a beautiful presentation last year, and I wish everybody can go back, because it's loaded on our website, to go and have a look at that presentation when it comes to health and hygiene and pressure sores. she went into details about that. So I'm not gonna go in depth about it. I'm not a physiotherapist nor a doctor, but I'm just merely sharing what I have read, and with the years of experience, what I've seen, it's what I'm sharing with you guys now. Okay. So personal hygiene, we're also saying what is hygiene, why health is important. Under WHO, World Health Organization, they say proper physical and mental and social well-being. So your body, your mental, and your social well-being defines, your health. So you as a player or you as a coach, you need to ensure that your players are physically strong and physically and mentally prepared, and social and obvious the social life is actually better before they engage themselves in any activities or competition. Okay. The conditions of a person's body and mind is very, very crucial. So that also tells you a lot about, what your health status should be. Okay. The physical health is defined as the capacity to perform activities, at a certain level. And you without your physical health, your being in a good state, you definitely will falter or won't be able to perform at the level that is required. And we can improve our health, by maintaining our BMI. Obviously, that impacts on our weight, stuff that we eat, and obviously exercising. I think that's a wrong spelling over there. And proper sleep. I think they're actually saying we need to sleep about 7 to 9 hours a day. I do not know in our days which we can achieve that, but yeah. But in order to have good health, you definitely need to maintain your body weight. We most people that are wheelchair bound, over time they tend to pick up weight. So it's important that we advise our athletes and advise them accordingly when it comes to those elements, and show them or share the dietary systems that they can help to maintain their body, BMI. So, and obviously, with exercising and proper sleep, it's definitely going to help.
Sipa, we have a question hand raised by Fred.
Go ahead, Fred.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm going to take you a bit back. I had a question on wheelchair pressure or tire pressure, sorry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to find out, for instance, on a size 26, it says 110 PSI or 7.5 bar. What is better to be on 7.5 bar or 110 PSI, or to go lower than the, I think that's the maximum.
Yeah. Remember now, Fred, if we're talking about high pointers, you're using your 26. So 7.5 bars is it's good enough for high point guys, and I think for 24s they're taking about 6. Coach Trooper, you can come in here for me. I think they're taking about 6 bars. So it's better to stay high rather than low, because your takeoff will be impacted if you lower your bar. As a high pointer, you do not have a good or quick takeoff compared to a low pointer a person or a player. And the bars, how you pump your tires, it tells you, because you're gonna have that top speed once you take off, but your first two pushes are crucial and in terms of indicating how fast you can go, so 7.5 is the right pressure for high pointers.
All right, thank you very much for that.
Go ahead, Trooper.
So the PSI to bar, it's just two different ways of measuring it. It would be like if you are measuring a distance with feet and then you convert to meters. So they're going to equal the same thing. What we found here, and we did a lot of testing on it, is you always want your players at the maximum pressure that the tire will support, because any give in the tire creates a resistance and slows the player down, whether it's in the straightaway, especially for a bigger player in the straightaway, the tire is giving a little bit more. And it especially, happens when you go into a turn, because all the weight is shifted over into, or a larger percentage is shifted over into one tire. So the kind of theory is always go to the maximum pressure you can get.
Thank you. Happy with that, Fred?
Yes, thank you very much. That's what I was actually trying to get at. Is it better to be at the maximum, or can you lower it a bit? Thank you for clarification. I've got a follow-up question on that as well. I've seen basically two types of tires, or three types of tires. I've seen the gray tires. I think those come from Chairman. I've seen the red tires, which are a bit harder. The red tires. And also, I've seen the blue and black more recently. What tires would you recommend? The hard ones, the soft ones, or what is the best?
So the color of the tire is, unless, a manufacturer can make a tire in many different colors. So the color of the tire isn't very specific unless you talk about a manufacturer of the tire and a tire model. So let's say if you were to order tires right now, Primo or Kendra can supply tires in gray, blue, red, yellow. They can provide them in any color. So that doesn't really help with the conversation. I think what needs to be noted is the hardness of the rubber or the strength of the lining in the tire. You always want to go with a tire that if you grab it, it doesn't twist very easy, because that would have a better lip on it, so that it has less chance of having a blowout on the side. And the harder the rubber is, it's still, there's so many different variations on rubber and the grip on the court, that is just going to be a personal preference. But I think that right now around the world, tires are very difficult to get a hold of, because there's a shortage. Even here in the United States, we're having difficulty getting tires. So but I think that the harder the rubber is, as long as it's gripping the court, is the best way to go. But the color is not dependent on the tire design.
No, true that. And just to add on that, Fred, the thread of the tire also helps you a lot, when it comes to, the grip, the friction between the tire and the floor. So you gotta always watch on the threading of the tire, and that will tell you what would work best for you. So the manufacturers, they design different tires, and obviously the threading also tends to be different. And sometimes when you changing your tires, watch the thread's direction, because some players they'll put on tires and the thread direction goes backwards, and that affects your pushing and the grips and obviously your agility on court. As you find that probably it gets to be slippery a little bit, because it's not gripping on the floor. The thread is running against the floor. So be aware of that as well. But yes, the color doesn't really define, the strength of the tire. It's actually the threading and also, the size of the tire itself.
Awesome, thanks very much. I appreciate the clarification. We can move on.
Sipa, sorry, Lloyd, you had a question. Do you still want to ask it? Lloyd? Okay, Lloyd, I take it your question's been answered.
No, just a question in terms of the BMI, if I may.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Lloyd, go ahead.
Oh yeah, just in terms of the BMI. So look at the body mass index operates on height as well, right? The measurement of height. So in the case of paraplegics, how do you determine what height they should be? Because the calculation of the formula used to calculate BMI includes height.
Yeah, and you can lay down and measure your height, right? And so that doesn't change. You just measure it in a different orientation. So those measurements don't change. It's interesting because BMI, it's a rough indicator, but it's not something that you want to rely on, especially with people with disabilities.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because if you look at the paraplegic, say for like a one-pointer, their development of the legs is obviously different to a normal person or somebody, say for like an amputee. So therefore, is there something in terms of a formula that's different for certain disabilities when calculating BMI?
Yeah, but in a situation like that, you probably would not use BMI. Like I said, it's a very rough indicator and it's generally used in the able-bodied population. And so its use in the world of people with disabilities is very broad, right? It's very
Okay.
rough. So what you want to look at is percentage of body fat, and the opportunity to be able to measure that accurately. It sometimes is difficult. You can use handheld devices to be able to get some basic measurements on that. And that is what I would prefer rather than BMI. But
Okay.
like I said, BMI, especially with this population, not individuals with paraplegics that have atrophied legs, or amputees where their physical size is different than other people. So yeah, so it is very much a rough guide, and I would recommend you have the opportunity to use handheld devices for measuring body fat percentage. That would be the way to go.
Okay.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Thanks so much, Scott. Thank you.
Carry on, Sipa. Sipa, you there?
Yes, Jerry. I'm very happy with that response. We can move on. I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize I've muted myself. Okay. Then we go into hygiene. Obviously, we fully understand, the players' situations when it comes to hygiene and the background from home, So it's important that we try by all means emphasize the issues of hygiene, and health, to our players, and how it's going to benefit them. It's helps to reduce, or chances to pick up diseases, and also to improve, levels of maintaining good health. Personal hygiene is important to prevent itchiness and germs. It also helps us to develop a healthy lifestyle, and it also helps to improve, our social and professional acceptance, around other individuals, and also in public per se. So hygiene is crucial, guys. Right? We know, with the lack of better word, the situations that we face in our sport. So we see players that have played, and during the game, they probably mess themselves. They don't even rush off after the game to go shower, and obviously they go do something else, and that is not ideal, So we need to put a lot of emphasis to our players and say, be conscious of these particular elements, and you as a coach and you as a leader, you need to make sure that you up and direct with your players and say, hey, you call to the player to the side and find better ways to explain to the player, what you need to try and improve your hygiene elements. And obviously, if you clean, your confidence, becomes higher. You tend to do things in the most ordinary way, because you're confident. Your social life, you don't fear anything. So it's important. It just improve your confidence completely. Next slide, Baba Smith. Okay. Then I'm gonna touch on pressure sores. Yeah, and I think it's now been called pressure injuries, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm just gonna generalize it right now and keep it to what we know best as pressure sores. What is a pressure sore? And everybody knows this, but it's important that we refresh ourselves. And yes, there will be pictures that some of you will not be pleased to see, but you share this with the players, their whole mindset will change. And we gotta put a lot of emphasis upon this. And we tend to lose a lot of players, especially to tournaments, international tournaments. Some players pick up pressure sores on the way to the games or to the tournament. Some players, they hide their pressure sores, because they want to go out and play, and not understanding the risk that comes with that particular action. So we need to share this ideas, we need to share these pictures, we need to share this presentation with the players. And by so doing, we're not just helping your team nor your program, but you're also now sort of helping the individual. So we will speak briefly about what is a pressure sore, how does it happen, and how does it look like, the causes of pressure sores, the implications, and how to avoid pressure sores, what to do if you get a pressure sore. So it goes step by step. Apparently, pressure sores have got 4 steps. So the definition of a pressure sore. Okay. So the definition of a pressure sore says a pressure sore develops if there's a prolonged pressure on an area, and there are areas that you need to be conscious of in that normally you that you could pick up pressure sores. So it's maybe the back of your head in most cases, your shoulder blades, your scapula, your buttocks, and obviously your heels. And remember, wheelchair users, they tend to become low tone. So there are areas that will be exposed to pressure, and there's not a good blood flow in that area. Therefore that actually affects the tissues, that develop or protect the skin. So if our players are using a wrong size wheelchair, you will tend to pick up, there will be like sort of a bit of friction, you know, on the hips if your chair is small and you're a bigger person. And obvious, as you push and as you sweat, there's going to be friction there, and you will pick up pressure sores on the side. Sometimes even our straps, too much of, you know, pressure placed onto the leg or the hip could also cause a pressure sore. So it's important that you when you're setting up a player onto a chair, or you're giving a player a wheelchair, there is still a bit of maybe a centimeter space, you know, in the hips, between the hip and the thigh plate, so that there is not much pressure, but but you use a very good padding of straps that will also hold the players down, you know. So be aware of that, and I'm just taking going further than what I'm actually doing now. So be aware of that the players need to understand those things, and you gotta share these things with the players. Next slide, Baba Smith. Okay, like I said, there's 4 stages of pressure sores, you know. I think I've touched on this on this point. Okay, the first step, you know, it only affects the first layer of the skin. So you pick up like sort of redness, redness on the skin, or the this colored mark, which no breaks of the skin. That would be like sort of your first stage of stage number 1 of your of a pressure sore indication. A mark does not disappear for within 30 minutes, so it stays that long, you know, for about 30 minutes. It will recover if no further pressure is applied. So if you release your strapping, there's no pressure there in the area, and you release that for probably after 30 minutes, you know, it pretty much goes away. That tells you that there was a bit of pressure in that particular area. So for wheelchair users, paraplegics, they sit too long on a chair, 24 hours, and they do not do pressure relief. The sacrum, which is the, you know, your buttocks area, you know, there's so much pressure there, and those are the areas that in most cases are getting affected, you know, or maybe areas that tend to pick up pressure sore very, very quickly. That's pressure sore number 1. This is what I'm talking about, and it becomes like a little bit swollen over there, and you see like a scrape, you know, on top. The skin is actually peeling off. That's an indication of a pressure sore, and it's pretty much not dangerous at this stage. You can always recover them. And for paraplegics, I know this would be coming to the later stage, but for wheelchair users, you always have got to check, you know, your skin in the mornings and in the afternoons, and even during game times. After the game, you go for a shower, just check yourself. Make sure that there is no area that you think, hey, you know, I may have actually picked up friction, because, you know, sometimes because of sensation in those areas on the lower extremities, you will not be able to tell, you know, if there is a pressure being applied. Second slide. Next slide. Then stage 2, it occurs if a pressure is not taken care of. So now you keep on, you know, there's still pressure there, and there's still a bit of a development. Okay. Are you taking those notes for me, Mr. Smith? I see people are writing on the side.
Yeah, carry on.
Okay. Say if there's still like a prolonged pressure in the area, and there is there is no relief, there's no pressure relief in that area, then the skin starts to peel off, and it gets damaged. And the area that is swollen starts to get opened up. It becomes like a sore, and that might need to be, sometimes it doesn't need to be drained, and healing may take days or weeks, for it to get better. That will be stage 2. Next slide, Mr. Smith.
So let's just deal with what Susan Deckers put a comment there. She wishes that there was a way of talking to players regarding pressure sores without offending them. She's found herself in situations where players got really offended when she spoke to them about it, and even if it was done privately. So what would your suggestion be in that scenario?
My suggestion on that one would be put them in a group. Put them in a group, present it. You put them in a group, present it, and see if the response will be positive then. Yes, this is the biggest issue, especially with our athletes. Like I said, we lost a player late last year because of pressure sores. Okay, he was our player. He stopped playing for about 2 years, and he died because of pressure sores. He knew about these things, but he was not encouraged enough to face this demon of pressure sores. So it's always better for me, and sometimes to bring somebody that is an expert on pressure sores, to come in and sort of address the athletes, or address the team around the issues of pressure sores and hygiene. So sometimes, yes, it's difficult for them to accept, and sometimes if you take them one-on-one, they will be very, very defensive and pretend as if there's nothing wrong with them. So you rather put him in a group, or maybe find somebody that a player would be able to confine with, to share, and open up to, say, people, Mr. Smith seems to have a problem, but I think I'm suspecting this is, would we be able to speak to him, So you gotta find ways to deal with those, but it's important that you address to the players. I remember some stage where early at the beginning of my basketball career, they used to check us. The senior guys, senior coaches that we used to have in those days, they used to check us. They used to check the players before, we go on tours, or before we go into on a game. So it's important that you don't be shy about it. Rather the person hates you if you have spoken, or giving them an open mind set about pressure sores, or maybe the condition that particular athlete is facing. So do not be shy about it.
Okay, thanks, Sipa. Wiseman, your question?
Hi guys. Actually, it's not a question. I can say it's a comment or a suggestion. Coach Trooper, I think you will agree with me. In terms of, I'm on that point, Mr. Gumbi, that the one that of our checking the players. I think we are here in South Africa. We are lacking, and we are very behind. And actually, we don't care. As long as a player, maybe it's a 1 point, and we need him on court, and then he's gonna play. So we had one incident where what was it, Coach Trop? I think in Phuket, where we were just sitting with the players, and then we decided, okay, fine, guys, let's check you, before the tournament starts, and then after that, okay, and then Ralph did so, and then Coach Trooper called me aside and said, Wiseman, I don't know, the law, it does not allow you to check someone if you don't have the qualifications or the right documents or what. So I don't know on how can we address that here in South Africa, or maybe Christopher, can you add on that? I don't know.
Yeah, thanks, Wasn't. Yeah, I do not. I mean, I absolutely do not recommend coaches checking players. Right, that's just a personal boundary that the coach should not cross unless they have a medical background and they do it in a setting that is an environment that's set up to do that. It is not a coach's responsibility to make medical decisions. I think what you have to do is, if you identify somebody that has a pressure sore, or if you are suspecting somebody that has a pressure sore, then you make them understand the importance of them seeking medical treatment, and almost to the point of saying you can't participate again unless we get a doctor's note saying that you're able to participate. But it is not ever the coach's position to make medical decisions or to make medical assessments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to add on before that, Jerry. Yes, every team have a medical doctor. Every setup, every structure have got a medical personnel that is qualified to do all of that. So yes, it is the right procedure, the right steps, to ensure that your athletes, even before they leave the country, or you leave your provinces or your clubs, make sure that your athletes are being checked. It's very, very important. It also affects your game plans. You're taking a player that you felt like you're gonna use, on tour, and you pick up that the player has got a pressure sore, or has got some some illness, and then it just affects your game situation. Rather we find ways, from ourselves here in South Africa, and say, what, on tours, especially for our national team players, all of our players must be checked. Remember, it's not always about the paraplegics that pick up pressure sores. Even polios do pick up pressure sores, and amputees do pick up pressure sores. So how do you deal with that? So I think we need to make sure that we've got a mandate, or maybe a drafted a sort of ruling that, our athletes will have, our doctors coming down into our training camps and have our players checked. Maybe that would be a solution for now. Yes, sorry, Mr. Smith.
Okay, Fred, and then Ephraim. First, Fred.
All right, thank you. Likewise, I wanted to suggest that we, in our setups, we have a medical or a qualified person to either talk to the players or to check the players as a precaution. And also, I also wanted to go further, because I think we all at different levels. Right now, we are at PCCL level. So we've got school teams, we've got, like established clubs like Eagles and all the others. I think it can be a bit difficult for schools. It can be difficult for maybe clubs without sponsors to get a medical person that would then come and check their players. Is there something we can do maybe at WBSA level, especially when it comes to our super sport kind of tournaments or nationals kind of tournaments, to the same way in COVID days where we used to have everybody screened for COVID? Is there a way, maybe at WSA level, where we can get, I don't know, some kind of precautionary, screening of players for pressure sores? Because it can be a big thing. I know at national team level, you've got a doctor on the team who can do that. So I don't want to take too much time, but I just wanted to come in and suggest those. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Fred. I think from a WBSA level, certainly something we can engage the medical commission under Dr. Rios and Natemba. You know, obviously bear in mind, we have a handful of medical volunteers, etc., but very important element to have a look at. So I will pass that on to the office and see what we can do. Certainly, you know, certainly at the beginning of a tournament, maybe during a course of the tournament, spot checks, that sort of type of thing. But I think also clubs should also approach, you know, various doctors, and you know, if there's a lot of doctors that will volunteer, especially those that have just qualified out of university. They're looking for experience in that. So, you know, don't be shy to ask for help, and you know, if they're not prepared to do it free of charge, then you know that is an issue. It's always you know to do with finances. But yeah, I will suggest it for tournaments, and you know, like Terence de Bruin and Jomo Kamalo, Supersport, etc. But good point. All right, Ephraim.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. Fortunately or unfortunately, I would say that you have touched, and the past two speakers have already touched on the issue that I was going to raise in terms of why not to be a medical team that will screen all the players either during or before the tournaments start. So but I've heard that is being covered, and thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Carry
Thanks,
on.
guys. Sorry. Okay. We can move to the another slide, to actually the next slide.
Sorry, I think Molema wants to ask a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm from Limpopo, so we don't have a doctor. So if you don't have a doctor, then can we write a letter to hospital so that they can help us?
Okay, Molema, your sound is very bad, but I think what I'm hearing, you are saying you don't have access to doctors. Can you take them through to the clinic or the hospital, etc.? I think end of the day, as long as a medical professional is checking the players, that should be sufficient. And then if you're coming down to the tournament, we can, you know, if you have any concerns with players, we can certainly get Dr. Rios to have a look at them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So this is stage 2, and well, obviously the skin is starting to peel off, and then the soling is that, you know, you can start now sealing the inside of the sole. So this is stage 2, and then this is now starting or becoming more of a problem. Remember now, guys, with the pressure sole, the damage starts within. You know, once you reach to stage 3 and stage 4, you'll find that, you know, the tissues inside, you know, they've got no life at all, and that's where, you know, it becomes a massive problem. And players, it can take years, you know, for pressure toe to heal by itself, you know, or unless you seek medical attendance, you know, whereby you go for a surgery. So but is sort of, that is now coming to the next 2 slides. 3. I do apologize to the ladies with the pictures there, guys. And this is now stage 3, you know. The breaking of the skin is now gone deeper, now affecting to 2 layers of the skin. So the top skin, the inner skin, and believe me or not, that's like the men's sack over there, you know, and that's not a pretty picture to look at. But because that person doesn't have sensation, and can you imagine the type of pain, you know, the body is taking because of that? Can you quickly jump and move away from that slide, Jerry? So that is stage 3, and that's one is also need medical attention. and you stay too long seated, and some of the guys they use nappies. Now, if they wet themselves and there's an open wound, there's wetness there, the sweat over there, and it becomes a bit of a problem. So once again, hygiene and health, it becomes a huge role, plays a huge role in our players, and you cannot lose players because of simple things like that that can be avoided. Okay. The stage 4 is a final stage. Go back, Jerry. Okay. Stage 4 is a final stage. The underlying muscles, they're now gone, they're sort of finished, and now you can only see the bone. The tissues are all dead. There's no way that the skin can heal itself, and this may take months, and years, for it to heal, and it's now sort of involved surgery. Okay. Can connect, Jerry. Okay. And if you look at the first picture on the left-hand side, this person was basically lying or sitting on his back. So the pre-ischial bones at the bottom there, you've got pressure sore, we've got pressure sore, and a stab there on top, pressure sores. Then probably they turned him, to say, what, because we need to have pressure relief on the buttocks, lie on your back, then they put him on the side. Then obviously the hip now pick up a pressure sore. Now is on his stomach. What are the chances of him pick up pressure sores there as well? I'm not gonna even speak about the one on the other side. Jump on this, Jerry. So it's very, very important that a small pimple or bump on your skin after the game, or having been seated for too long, you gotta make sure that you give pressure relief, especially paraplegics. You have got to give pressure relief, amputees, you guys use prosthetic legs. That's a reason why you guys are wearing those socks and you've got those powders. Think about it, the first time you were wearing that, how painful it was. And crucial that you look after yourself when it comes to the pressure areas. So the cause of pressure sores, it's sustained pressure, wetness, and friction and shear. It's simple enough. Areas to look at, when you sitting too long on a wheelchair, you are bed bound, you're transferring. Sometimes you're transferring from the chair to the car, from the chair to the bed or whatever, and you bump yourself, against something there as you are transferring. That will also cause a pressure sore. It's hygiene, the clothes. Sometimes paraplegics, they tend to wear jeans, and those jeans have got those sort of buttons at the back, back pockets, and you don't feel the pinch, on the jeans at the back, and that also may create pressure sores. Your hygiene, your clothing, and your equipment. I think I've repeated myself there. My apologies. Okay. So those are the areas on things that you need to look for when it comes to pressure sores. Next slide, Mr. Smith. What to do when you keep when you pick up a pressure sore? Do regular pressure relief. You lift up from your chair, you change position, and you move from your chair, and you sit on another chair. You use a cushion, a proper cushion. Remember now, guys, a cushion doesn't stop pressure sores. It limits or maybe minimize the risk of picking up pressure sores. There are so many cushions out there. I'm talking about now outside of basketball. There are so many cushions out there, and there's that air cushions, that gel cushions, that's There's another one this is the other one I think is from the States. It's a honeycomb cushion. It's like a braids. So all of those cushions, they play a massive difference in somebody's road, but it does not prevent pressure sores. It reduces risk of bigger pressure sores. And I know some people who do not have the funds and monies to buy good cushions, but at least if you got the foam cushions, one or two that you're using, it will help a lot. And I'm also going to be speaking to some of our suppliers in South Africa that, at least the guys that are playing wheelchair basketball, we be donated, the cheap foam cushions. At least they have 2 cushions. Some guys have got 1 cushion. If that cushion is messed up and they ended up having to put it in the sun, clean it up, put it in the sun and sit on a chair. And that's where sometimes it becomes a problem, because they're sitting on a wheelchair for 24 hours or maybe for 12 hours and they do not have any sort of cushioning or support, in the buttocks, So you gotta do regular checks, in the mornings and afternoons, or even when you're bathing, every evening before you go to bed. The old school ways, use a mirror and check your buttocks. Dry yourself properly after washing, and remove any pressure, to an area immediately. And it's all about being active and being moving on your chair. As an able-bodied person, they don't sit in one position for too long. And wheelchair users, they sit on one position pretty much half of the day, or maybe the whole day, just sitting in that one position. Imagine how much pressure you exerting in that one area there. So it's important that you do your shift, changing position now and again, identify the causes of pressure sores and correct this, so you gotta make sure, your size of your chair is big enough, it's wide enough that it doesn't actually cause friction, and is too small for me. Smart strapping, is it proper? The padding, is it proper? So those are the areas that we need to make sure that our athletes and our players have an understanding of. Next slide, Baba, unless there's any questions. Or additions. Wise men, I know you want to say something.
I think everybody feels ill now, to be honest.
There shouldn't be,
I'm just from the bathroom. I just ate because I was eating.
My apologies.
Go ahead, Malema.
So for now, we don't have a contact in Limpopo. So what can we do for now? Because we're going to practice, but we don't have a dog tag. So we don't have dog tag. So what can we do for now? Any assistance?
Malema, yeah, it's a tough one. I think you need to engage with your province, and perhaps if you try and set up meetings with maybe the hospitals there, or a doctor on that side, and have those kind of conversations. I think most of the provinces have to do it that way. Yes, WBSA has a doctor based close to Mandeville. Perhaps some of the other provinces might have come up with some other suggestions, but yeah, it's obviously it is difficult without funding. But go out there and find a doctor and speak to them and see what you can do. That's you have to just keep on trying.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Ephraim and then Wiseman.
Okay, thanks, Gary. I would like to respond also to the question that was asked by the guy from Limpopo. Coming from the health sector, from the Department of Health, it's also advisable that maybe some of us, those who don't have access to the medical doctors, like it says, maybe the hospital, but even at a local clinic, we just make an appointment with whoever's in charge, the sister, whatever, and then we tell all of you, take your team, and then for a checkup on that, we let them know that on such a day you're going to the hospital for a checkup, or at the clinic, sorry to say, at a clinic, and then they got checkup. Even if they've got there is any physiotherapist around, my medical background also taught that even the physiotherapy or the occupational therapist could also assist in terms of checking if someone or a player in our instance that he can be able to check if he or she has a pressure sore. So I think sometimes even the easiest things, even though because they are medically qualified to do that, because they do deal with them in the hospitals, in the wards, and then so it won't be like they are crossing the line if they check them. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Good suggestion there, Ephraim. Hopefully that gives you some direction there in Limpopo.
Yeah. Yes, Ephraim.
Wiseman.
I've just got, I think Gina has just said something, but I'll have to read it after. Just a suggestion to Limpopo. Guys, what we're doing here in Gauteng, we go to universities. Like, I'm just gonna make an example. We've got one lady here by the name of Gina Panyana. She's medically qualified, you know. So if you go through the universities, or you go through the where they play able-bodied basketball, most of the students from those universities do have these kind of qualifications. I may understand that maybe, like, for instance, some of you guys are staying in Venda, some of you are staying in Polokwane, you know, so it's gonna be difficult to get you guys at the same time and then you go. But on our side, if you are gonna come to Gauteng, I don't think Gina would mind to check you guys before you start any tournament for now. But you can, like, that's the best solution and the best way. Just go to universities and ask for some people, or like anyone, you know. I mean, I think there's a team, Limpopo Pride or what. You can go there and ask for the ladies. They do, even the guys, they do the same thing. You don't have to, like, go to the public hospital as such, because sometimes I know the line is too long, and the person to sit, like, on a chair for more than 3 hours, it also becomes a problem. So I suggest you go to the universities, and when you come this side, before you start in the game, we can make means to help you out.
Thanks, Wiseman. Any other questions? Go ahead, Ephraim.
Okay, thanks again, Gary. I think this issue of maybe getting these players into the right mind, I think it must also start with us as coaches. I think what Mr. Gumbi said earlier, I mean from Monday, is that either with a coach or an assistant coach, you must know your players. You must have that communication. They must feel free that they could approach you. Even today, I think we touch on it. They must also feel free to talk to you. You must be approachable. So in that sense, I mean, I think the players could also be open to you, say that, coach, I think I have a pressure sore, or I think I've bumped, even whether I could lie whatsoever. But I think if we are approachable and then we are friendly to them in that way, not beyond, then it will also be easier for both parties to be able to eradicate this problem. Thank you.
Excellent, Ephraim. Precisely, that's it's very, very crucial that you have an understanding with your players, and you're very close to your players. I can tell you that here in KZN, I'm like sort of the brother and the father to the athletes, and they'll come to me with different issues, that one would have to sort of try and assist whatever possible, and I'm talking about abuse cases, I'm talking about rape cases, I'm talking about so many issues, that the players will come to me and confine with, say, hey, this is what is happening. So that relationship with my players here has helped me a lot, to develop and make sure that we're having a decent sort of setup going forward. And it's very crucial that, as a coach, within your national duties, you also develop those relationships, and you embrace diversity, as I said, my previous presentation. And in that way, it will become much easier. And I hear the issue of Limpopo. And I'm taking note of that, and one would be speaking to the chairperson of Limpopo, and we will address those matters. Yes, there's 2 or 3 proposals that came through from the group, which is excellent. That, like I said, I love the engagement, which is very important. So we will address those matters, and even if it's after this session you feel like there's certain questions or certain matters that you feel needs to be addressed, that's raised from that's emanated from these presentations, feel free, guys. We need this. We want to make sure that we all moving to the right direction, and it's we don't find ourselves being sort of separated, or maybe not being able to know and understand what wheelchair basketball South Africa is opting to achieve with this particular presentation. This is what we're hoping to achieve, and this is starting to connect and fit in properly. So I'm very excited, and I'm grateful for the contributions that you guys are giving now. So they're quite related to the coaching elements. So excellent, well done on that. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, guys, if there's no further comments or questions, we can end tonight's session. And just a big thank you to Sipho for his efforts so far. And I'm sure the next couple of workshops will be just as good. A reminder that the next workshop is on Monday evening at 7, and then following Thursday at 7. The WhatsApp group is now up and running. So if you're not on the WhatsApp group, please just drop me a WhatsApp and I'll add you there. And I've already shared the presentation for tonight on the group, and we'll put the link of this recording on as soon as it's uploaded to YouTube. All right, guys, thanks very much.
Thank you.
We'll call. Just hold on.
Not advice.
Thanks.